stick to stuff like this. The spoon's going to be a given. Gold spoon, silver spoon, whatever you want to throw. You know, the problem I don't like about the spoon, it's just a steady reel or kind of twitch it. There's not a whole lot of fall. And to me, when you're fishing the deeper water like this river system or the docks, which is where I would target, you know, sometimes them fish are sitting on the bottom. Well, if you're just reeling it in, it's kind of like the mirror where even this thing says it sinks. If you're in 8 foot of water, you need to get down to the water column. So I think you have a little bit of, you kind of handicap yourself. Again, if you could throw a bunch of lures, then it'd be an option, but we're talking one lure, so you need to find something that's all around that you can catch either or. So, and again, I'm using Z-Man as an example. If you go buy New Egg, they make a great product. One thing I will tell you about the Z-Man is I don't know any of them that I can do that with and still use it. And I've caught 20 trout on one of these and it hadn't broke, and that to me impressed me. The only thing that actually broke this is the elusive puffer fish. I didn't break everything. I don't know what this is the only thing that's ever broke this. I mean, pinfish. I'll tell you, whoever made the Berkeley Golf, great product, works. Their marketing guy is a genius because everything eats it. And my buddy used golf, and he went through 3 packs of golf and we didn't catch a fish. He caught, it was like pinfish eating it. Anything in the water eats it, but you know, and it works. But if you got a lot of pinfish in the area or whatever, you know, you're gonna go broke trying to catch a fish. So, but the DOA ones work good. Who else makes them? 12 Foul makes them pretty good. They got like a sluggo bait that works pretty good. Neil that I do radio with, he does a lot of 12 Foul stuff. So it really doesn't matter on the brand, really, whatever you're comfortable with. That's the big thing with artificials is what bait works for you. And I've got so much of the Z-Man. I got a whole drawer like this full of Z-Man stuff. And there's about 4 colors that I throw. I'm going to see if I got a whole bunch of these. There was another color that I stumbled on. Bad chance, dude. Yeah. And I want to see if I got one better than it. It's like one of my favorites. The white and that green color. Bad shit right here. Pearl white can't go wrong with trout. That is a. This is not it. It's called, and I don't know who else makes it. I literally had this in my boots. It actually stinks when you get some stuff. Pearl blue glimmer? No, it's called Houdini.
They make
It's like a red and green and white.
It's something like this. It's real, I thought this is actually called avocado. Real close to this, but it's got like a little bit more light to it, and I've done really well with that. Don't ask me why.
I listened to your show a little bit. A couple of years ago, you talked about friggin' like the Houdini shrimp on a worm hook, like a weighted worm hook.
Yeah.
That actually works pretty well.
You know, with fish, man, I think sometimes it's a lot of throwing them something different. Think outside the box. That chatterbait, I kind of looked at it and I was like, man, this thing looks like a contraption. But when you put it in the water, the vibration that it makes, you know, to me, with artificials, if you're fishing not a big school of fish, you want to get something that gets their attention that kind of looks at it, and then it's got to look real so they attack it. And you've got to figure out what action, what speed to work it based on water temperature. There's so many variables in artificial, and my partner, and he caught more reds than I did about halfway through the tournament, and we had swapped. He was throwing a 1/4 inch on the flats, and I've never really thrown a 1/4 inch jig. I've always thrown an 1/8 on the shallow flats. And I said, man, you're working that thing fast. He was doop, 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 and he'd stick a fish. I'm like, so finally I swapped over, started catching the heck out of it. And I never really, you know, he was using a 1/4 ounce jig head on the flats. And we're fishing some potholes, but I was using an 1/8. He was getting hit more. So, you know, I've caught plenty of fish on 1/8 ounce, but I just never really, I usually went a 1/4 or 3/8 or 3/16 or whatever on deeper water. So I think sometimes throwing them something different, knowing if you need to slow it down or speed it up, is a huge thing. But again, you need to find something that's all around. The problem with these is finding the one color that you're going to like all day. And if I had to throw one all day, it would either be the Houdini, the white. If I was going to trout on the flats, I would really stick with the Pearl white. And it doesn't matter what brand you get, like I said. And here's one. You tell me the difference. There's Mirror Lure and Z-Man. So they're similar. This one's a little bigger. If you're doing redfish on the flats, I really like especially that time of year because it's going to be shallow. If you think you can get on the flats and and get some reds. It's pearl white and,
Polytron's good.
I don't have it here, I just brought these. It's the jerkbait, weedless rig, Texas rig. Anybody know Texas rig bass stuff? Get a weighted rig and you just basically Texas rig it, like a 5-inch jerkbait. They work really good for the reds. I've done really well with them. And I'm trying to think what else. Leader size too is big. I brought a rod in here just to give you guys an idea of what I throw. This is what I throw for live bait. This is what I throw for artificial. This is a 8-foot St. Croix average, 2500 Daiwa ballistic, and this leader is probably 30 because I was snook fishing. I had a customer I actually got the fish today. But downsize your leader to 15 to 20, especially on the flats. Water is going to be clear. It's going to be tough. So it's I usually use 3, 4. You can actually go at least 3 foot a leader. Just remember your braid. You can see it easy in the water. It's the downside of it. So you're going to go longer with your leader. And one thing on the mirror lures too, I like to tie. This is called a loop knot. Actually, I used to call it a mirror lure knot because I actually tie it with mirror lures. And I tie it with all my live bait. This is a live bait hook, and then just a double uni knot is a simple rig. And I typically, I mean, if you go talk to guy builds rods where it's like, well, you need a different tip action for artificials versus live bait. I use all the same rod. I mean, once you learn how to throw it, you can just, compensate. So as far as braid, I use 10 pound for everything. If you're fishing docks, you got 2 different rods. If you step your braid up to 20 pound or 30 pound, it's going to be probably a little better, give you a little better chance. There is some, right now in Palm Beach, some big fish around docks. And I think this warmer weather has actually pushed them off from last week, but we're going to get on the cold front and these fish are going to stack up in these canals. And for whatever reason, and I couldn't tell you why, I think the fish in the wintertime eat better around the docks. They're more aggressive. They don't have their guard up as much for whatever reason. So that's why I really would recommend sticking in the deeper creeks and the docks and stuff like that. I think you'll have more success. Yes?
Any particular light conditions or tide conditions on those docks?
Moving water. Every spot's different. That's just doing your homework. People ask me that. You like outgoing or like incoming? I like something doing something. I can adjust my day. I'm a fly by the seat of your pants guy. People say, I get guys that call me for a trip and they're like, and I hate it, to be honest with you, because there's so many conditions that control fishing that I have no control. Like, what's the absolute best day in December to go fishing? I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, let's pick a new moon, but we could have a north wind with a bad cold front for 5 days straight, and guess what? I don't care whatever people tell you about fishing, you can't perform miracles. You're going to work your butt off on days to catch fish, and there's other days where everything just goes right. And it's not that it's you're lucky. If you know what you're doing, it's more about knowing the conditions. And what you get in November, December is you get cold fronts. Whenever you get a change in barometer, you can expect to catch fish. Good time to throw artificials. When you got high pressure sitting on you and the wind's blowing out of the north 20 knots and the sky's blue, well, I would probably have a bunch of white bait and then maybe you'll catch some fish. So it's tough. And if you're going to throw artificials, good luck. Best time to go fishing is when you can. But, so to ask me on a tide, there's certain tides that I fish outgoing. Good example, in the river, we hit one spot, we were catching big trout, catching probably 15 snook on one spot, like on low outgoing tide. So the other day I was like, well, we can't, I said, let me go in here and experiment a little. I came in on the high tide. I said, these fish are probably up in the trees. We didn't catch jack. And that was yesterday. I said, well, I was just experimenting, trying to figure out what works for that spot. Came back today, low tide, then fish dropped off the ledges, bam, 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 snook, 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 trout, trout, trout. So it just depends on the spot where you fish. One thing I can tell you with like the river system in particular is you'll have a bunch of points and these little islands. And everywhere you see islands, you can bet that there's a cut there. What I look for in that cut is a little, and sometimes just submerged, you have like a little bar that comes out, oyster bar. It's not going to be up out of the water, but right behind that, you have a little eddy. Guess where a lot of the fish will be sitting? Behind that bar in the eddy. And as that bait comes down, especially snook, because they're ambush fish, they're going to whack it. Trout do the same thing. the reds are a little different. And if you're fishing the river, a lot of times with artificials, I like to tell people, get on a flat, get on a trolling motor, start drifting and fan cast. You cover more ground. River's a little different. I'm a firm believer them fish are running through with the tides. So if you got a good cut where there's good bottom, maybe just stick your power poles down and just start working. Like fan your cast like this, then fan it again. Because first off, drifting in there is going to be a nightmare with boat traffic and with the tide. So I like to anchor up and really cover. If you know there's a decent spot where there's potential to catch fish, really work that spot hard. Give the fish a chance to run through that cut with the tide in and around. But looking for eddies, looking for breaks, there's a ton of them. I mean, I could take it at 40 spots within 4 miles of that river. And how I found them is just going out there and there's certain spots that I go in on incoming that are great. I fish them at that point and they suck. So, all the time with swimmers, I tell people it's not about, finding that great spot. It's finding that great spot at the right time. It's all got to click together. It's a whole system. And that's the biggest thing. Bishop's Harbor in the cut down there, it's ruined. There's 20 people fishing every day. I used to go in and catch 20 snook every day. Occasionally you can go in there on the early part before the fish get beat up and catch fish there. But even that spot's got a little bit of a trick to it. I'll tell you, one of the tricks I've learned, there's a little creek that feeds right when you go in there. On the top of the outgoing tide, that creek starts feeding out, and fish will stage up there. You go in there in September, you'll catch some fish. You go in there in March, they're all sore lips. You catch a snook and they got blood spots all over their mouth. They've been hooked like 30 times. It's a community hole, and that's what happens. The fish are there, they're just smart. And you go there in greenbacks, you'll throw chum. They hit the chum, but they know which one's got a hook in it. I'm telling you, I mean, it's just, if somebody hooked you in the mouth 5 times in 3 days, you'd probably start thinking, man, something's not right. So I would probably leave, but for whatever reason, it's like Tarpon Key. Them fish, I don't know why them fish stick to that particular island. There's schools of redfish over in St. Pete, because I fished over there, all over the place. But everywhere else is hit or miss. But that one particular spot, I don't know what is there that them redfish are a glutton for punishment. There'd be 30 boats on them. And while they might not bite and you might get spooked, they stay there. And the only thing that I can say that's different from other spots is that particular spot, if you look on Google, it's got like a little lake in the center of the island. And I've actually caught them fish over there coming out of there's a couple of creeks. So I don't know, maybe they like the center of the island at night or something. I don't know, I haven't figured it out. Some spots are patchy, other ones consistently hold fish no matter how many times they get caught. So. Any questions? No questions.
Do you use, I know Z-Man is a scented bait, but do you use scents on your plastic?
Hey, anything's gonna make life easier on me. I mean, some people are like hardcore, they don't want to scent. Hey, put it on there. He said Procure. I think these are scented with Procure, some of them. They are. I don't know if I got them. I don't know how much of a difference it makes. I will tell you this, Berkeley Gulf, I've seen people dead stick it and it works. Whatever scent they put on Berkeley Gulf is good scent. But again, from a marketing standpoint, they're a genius because they probably went through more baits than anybody else. The Procure works good. There's a bunch of stuff out there. I couldn't tell you one in particular. I've got a few things that Procure in there. I'll goof them up. I'm like, you know what? If this is going to help me, great. The Gulf too. If you guys want to use it, I'm not down in the Gulf. It works, but
There's some days you'll catch 4 or 5 reds on one gulp, and then there's other days you'll go through 5 packs and get
5 pinfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the elusive puffer fish. So, the scent, that's a good question, dude. Scent's good. Anything gives you an edge without cheating, I'm trying to think what else. And again, going back to the basics of shrimp. If you're telling me you're just going to do trout too, another good option is using a Cajun Thunder with like a Dewey shrimp. Dewey makes a whole kit for it now, but that's a good trout bait. Trout, like anything, breaking the surface, getting attention. They're suckers for that, and they're throwing artificials out of the two. I would say trout are easier to catch, but I would say out of the two, it's going to be better chances to get a bigger redfish than a bigger trout. So, not that you won't get one of the other. Any other questions? Cool. I got some cards up here if you guys want. You want to take a look at these baits, the rod? Let me hang out for a few minutes.
And on that day, you have an incoming tide until 10 a.m. It says 1.3
so basically you don't have a whole lot of water, so you're not going to the flats. A 1.3 and you throw a 15 knot north wind, you probably got a negative .10, 0.1 or whatever. You're in a negative tide if you have any kind of north wind. Over here, man, rivers and docks and creeks. You can run up to Bullfrog Creek. That creek holds a lot of fish. You got to know how to get in there. Alafai River is another good one. I don't fish up there too much anymore, even downtown. Palm River, but you don't have a whole lot of water. So getting out here on Cockroach, with the clear water, you might as well hang it up. Well, you can get in there, but I don't think you'll catch much. You'd have a lot more production fishing docks and the rivers and creeks and stuff like that. So, what's the outgoing?
Says outgoing to 342.7.
What's it? Yeah, it's a horrible tide. You got point. Let's see, you get a 0.5 tide for the whole day. So I would definitely be in docks or the river. What I would, one of my recommendations, start right here. You guys know the mouth of the river right here, where it curves in. Start right there. Start working that whole bank and watch the boats blow past you. There's redfish that lay right on that bank.
And listen for the gunshots.
Watch out for tiger. Don't worry, because he's probably going to break down, so he won't shoot at you because he might get towed in. But I would really stick to the main, with that tide, stick to the main sections. It's funny, you know, over the years, growing up, I always said, oh man, it's not going to be any fish. There are boats blowing through there all the time. Fish adapt to their surroundings. You ever go to a boat ramp? There's more big snook at the boat ramp, and they don't care about boat traffic. They're used to it. They hear boats, they think bait's going out the side. Then fish constantly have their guards down. Every boat ramp's got big snook, there's redfish. So look for, I would stick around, like I said, the main spans of this river where you got good tide flow, but you don't have a whole lot of tide. That would be what I would do. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but there's...
Stay out of the canals that are up in there, or you go in those? You know, like
you'll catch some reds in there. I think you'll do better in the main spans. This main span's got nothing but oyster, rocky bottom. It's like, you know, these river systems all the way up to Palm River. This one in particular has got very good tide flow, the Little Manatee. It's got a lot of rocky oyster bottom, and it's got great habitat. There's nobody's been in there dredging it, digging it out, screwing it up. So that's the big thing with this particular river. Alafai is great too. Palm River, I just don't fish much. You know, when I think Palm River, I think of going fishing with my dad and seeing nothing but catfish. Now I know there's tarp and everything else up there, but that's just like what's in my head. It's like when you get up towards that part of the bay, they just don't have the flow. I mean, there's good flow, but not like we have down here. And that's why our water is cleaner. The sand, you get up to downtown. It's great fishing down there, but it's muddy. It's just different conditions. They don't have that flow that they have, you know, in and out with the tides that we have down here. That's why you get out like Fort Manatee and the water looks so clean and clear and the grass looks good. There's great flow through there. So there's stuff pulling all that crap out of there every day. Where you go to downtown, you know, dead ends. While it comes in and out, it's pushing up on incoming tide. It's not all flowing out. So I think that affects it some. With that being said, there is some huge snook down there in the port. I don't go out there too much anymore because I get so aggravated with the, you know, security. Like, you can't go to some places when there's a ship in port, and you can't. There's no signs. It's just a headache. I will say I used to go to the Gannon power plant in the wintertime, and that was unbelievable. The colder the day, the better. Tarpons, big snook, jacks the size of my leg. Then they shut it down from 9/11. So.
big sheep's head.
Huge. I mean, you would see. I hooked tarpon in there, and everything in there was, you know, the coldest day. You'd be freezing your butt off in there. You know, great fishing in there. Any other questions? Cool. Okay.
A few years ago, you mentioned that right at the mouth, just after I got my boat, took a 40-inch cobia off of there. My wife and my daughter was in the boat, and that thing went around the boat, and you talk about a damn Chinese fire drill. That was it. That's when Danny and somebody else had that bait shop.
Fred Everson.
Fred Everett. Yeah.
That was early in my guiding career. That's when it was cool. Everybody hung out.
But that,
And they shut it down.
I always stopped there in the evening for trout.
Yeah, there's trout right at the mouth. A lot of people think big trout, they think all grass flies. A lot of your biggest trout around oyster bars and docks.
Right on
I've
top
caught
of
my biggest trout in 6 foot of water around like some kind of hard bottom or something like that. So think outside the box a little when you start talking trout and all that. And that cooler weather is going to spark a trout bite. The problem with artificials is when you find trout, you're going to find a bunch of small ones. Trying to find that big one can be tough. Where redfish, I think you have a better chance of getting that bigger red. You're going to catch some numbers, but I think you have a better chance.
You've seen a lot of small one trout out there now, like in the
Seen some
13,
decent trout.
14, like just under, like loaded with them.
Everything I'm getting is like 15 and a half to 20. But I'm fishing deeper water. If I went on the flats, I'd probably find smaller ones. So the trout fishing's really picked up. The trout fishing for me was really kind of not that good this past year. And I think some of it was the snook fishing has progressively gotten better. I'm a snook fisherman first and trout and reds after. The thing about trout is, they don't fight as good. The thing about redfish, I really don't like chasing schools of redfish around. If they'll sit down, I can catch them. But this year, the few schools of reds, we did really good on reds at times, and other times, if I don't have the right clientele, I don't like chasing fish. I'd rather anchor up and try to draw them into me. So, with that being said, the trout fishing is picking up though. We caught some nice trout. Remember, if you catch a 15-inch trout, there's probably going to be a bunch more behind them. You might want to shift over. I mean, it's nice, not that you want to catch a bunch of fish, but if you're looking for that big one, the big ones kind of hang with the big ones, the small ones kind of run with the small ones. So, any questions? Cool.
Are you fishing the bank? Or are you fishing from the bank out?
Well, if you're from a boat, you're probably fishing from out to the bank, or you throw in the middle of the canal. Depends on where the fish are. Depends on the spot.
Right.
It's all the key. You got to figure out, that's why I tell people, I will say this, and I'm not that old. I'll be 38 this year, but from when I was a kid fishing to the kids growing up now, and he's laughing at me because he's going to give me one of his stories to make me feel young, but it's different. When I grew up, I'd go to every seminar I could. I'd read every article I could, and there was stuff out there. But there wasn't the stuff, you had to get out the boat and figure it out. There wasn't the stuff there is now. I mean, you got Google Earth. You can go on Google Earth and find stuff easy. And while it doesn't tell you how to catch fish, it gives you an idea. You already go into a spot knowing roughly what's there. I got Google Earth on my GPS. I mean, I pop a chip in there. I showed the customer the other day, I said, there's a pot. He goes, how do you know there's fish in this particular spot? I said, come here. Put it on full screen. I said, you see that little blue area around the green? I said, yeah, he goes, that's a pothole. I was like, this is Google Earth. You can see stuff on there. So with that being said, you've already got an advantage on the fish. Now, the key is you still have to get out there and do your homework because you got to figure out when they like that spot. And that's the biggest obstacle nowadays. But your learning curve is way better than when I was younger. I guide full time, and I like to be a pretty good fisherman now. When I was a kid, I wasn't very good. I spent a lot of time not catching jack, and I didn't have the luxury of booking a guide. It just wasn't parents' budget. I just kind of figured it out. But there's two things I tell people. It's worth it to get out with a good guide, and whether it's me or whoever, and to learn the area. Not to learn how to run 100 mile an hour down the flats or go catch snook. To understand, or not to even spot steal. Understand the process because there is a lot involved in catching fish. And just like anything else you do, if you prepare yourself and do it right, you're going to catch more fish. But I think a lot of people fishing, they're just like, I like to go out on the boat. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to have a game plan and challenge yourself to be better. If you don't, you're never going to get good. And I think the first step of that is hiring somebody, getting out, and understanding. I didn't have the fortune of doing that, and it was a heck of a learning curve for me. Lucky for me, I guess I'm hard-headed, figured it out after 10 years of suffering. But it's a lot easier nowadays for sure. And I'm sure Tiger can tell you that. I've seen him in the last 6-7 years that I've known really turn into a heck of an angler, just from doing, being at the fishing around everything and doing stuff like that. So, you guys you've got to better. It's easier when it used to be. So, any questions? Yep.
So what was your biggest river trout and what was your biggest flats trout?
Good question. gotten bigger ones on the flats only because I've got some stuff that's about 6 foot of water on hard bottom, and they'll spawn out there, and we get on them. When I say spawn, it's like they're all 20 to 30 inches. They're only there for like a few weeks, but it's early spring. But I've caught some in the river in December. The thing about the river with trout, it's hit or miss. Like, there's some stuff in the middle of the canal, and I found it just by dumb luck. I was snook fishing the bank, and I think I threw a bait behind the boat, and all of a sudden, bam, like a 25-inch trout. I'm like, well, that was kind of weird. So then I did it again. Bam, another trout. I'm like, well, I caught like 10 trout, all huge. And then I come back the next day, and they wasn't there. So I think what they do in their river systems is they move around, and they were kind of on the bottom. I got them to come up, but I would like belly hook the bait with a split shot, and I just free spooled behind the boat. So that bait kind of made its way down, and they were hitting it. But I think the trouble is finding consistency where the big ones are. I think the big ones are schooled up in the river right now. But it's very tough to consistently hit them. But I would really concentrate on hitting the deep ends and trying to get something down, throwing it to 3/8. Can you change the jig head? Okay, so you can change your weight. So that's, I would pick a color that you like and really concentrate on the, if it's 10 foot deep, get it down. Use a real heavy jig head and just kind of come across the bottom. If that don't work, change your weight based on, what works. The downside is you're going to catch a lot of lady fish in that river. So, you got to take the go to the bank. Oh, trout?
Yeah, how big?
Biggest one I got in the river is 26. I got a 27. I've gotten a 29 on the outlet. But the flats, what I'm calling flats is 6, 8 foot of water. It's not in 2 foot of water. So if it's extreme flats, probably 25, something like that, 26. I got my real big ones on the outside of the bars, sandbars. So it really depends on the time of year. But I think the river's a good start for trout and docks. I've caught some nice trout around docks lately too. Again, I'm using white bait, but the good thing about trout is they're going to eat artificials. They're not as picky as most. So, any questions?